discussing a presentation by Mac Schwager from Stanford. He gave this presentation at MIT, links in the show notes. A really interesting presentation. I think this is one of those talks that really make an impact. So what Schwager's talking about is how general are robotics models. So he's asking the question, when we have a robot executing tasks, are they just memorizing tasks, or are they actually learning to use general skills when executing tasks? Now, this might sound like academic pedantry to some, but I think it's a much bigger issue because on the quest towards general artificial intelligence, the word general, of course, is very important. I think Schwager actually comes from another perspective and merges with Dick Sutton, who talks about experience and learning from experience. So one of his conclusions in the talk is that the future of robotics has to be in learning from experience. So the robots should be learning from their own experience. And the way they can do that, according to Sutton, is by pursuing goals. And while they're pursuing goals, automatically add functions and features and options, as he calls it, in other words, skills to execute certain tasks. So on the fly, while executing a task, the robot learns learns how to add tasks that it either has in memory, or if it doesn't have, actually learns it on the fly. So that would be Sutton's version of learning from experience. But let's talk about this Mac Schwager presentation. So fundamentally, the idea is the following: like when you have a robot execute a certain task, it might as well be that the robot, for example, using vision, sees a certain scene and then just like in a lookup table checks, okay, have I seen this before? And if so, oh, this is what I need to do while I've seen this exact scene. So that will be memorization. Now, my first reaction when I heard this was, well, I mean, what's the point? Like my Tesla, for sure, has never seen a scene that it sees right now while I'm driving. I'm actually driving on FSD right now while I'm recording this episode. So I'm pretty sure it's never seen the scene that it's driving, right? I mean, the likelihood is almost zero that the exact car in front of me with the exact distance, and I'm on the San Mateo Bridge right now between San Mateo and the East Bay, and there's no way that the car has seen this before. No, nevertheless, it knows how to drive. Well, because it's seen sort of the abstraction, it's seen the lane, it's seen other cars. It doesn't really matter if it's this car versus another car, but the structure of the scene it's seen before. But if all of a sudden a helicopter lands in front of me, the car will completely lose its marbles and not be able to execute. Now, in Max Schwager's terminology, a general model would be able to even then deal with the problem, or even in some context, you could then just use general intelligence to deal with a helicopter landing the same way humans are probably going to be able to react, unless, of course, there's not enough time to react. So I guess at some point, memorization versus generalization can become an academic pedantry because who really cares? And I think it is my guess that that is actually exactly what's going to happen, because Max Schwager's remedy for the in his talk, he actually states that most of the knowledge, most of the skills that the robots have are memorized. So if most of the things are memorized, then we don't have intelligence, right? That's kind of the general view of the situation. And the remedy for this would be more data and more variety of data. So we're back to the scaling laws, and I think something that the research community has been communicating for a while now, that we need more general data. For example, video data. We need just large scale data, because if we memorize, but we have a lot of action chunks to memorize, which is sort of the unit of analysis in robotics. I think there's a convergence in the robotic community that we're talking about action chunks. So it's not just the arm moving slowly from where it is towards the ball to grasp, it's like the move until it gets to the bottle is one chunk, and then the grasping is the other chunk. So we're kind of combining certain discrete actions of the robot into one chunk, and that's called action chunks. So those action chunks are, whether they are memorized or whether they are somehow generally learned at a large scale, doesn't really matter, because what we have in a large scale, very high variety data set is just a lot of scenes that are memorized that can be called back to, and they can generalize into actions that maybe feel from the outside as general intelligence, but in fact are just memorized actions. So at some point, I guess what I'm saying is with large enough data set and high variety data sets, memorization could feel like generalization, even though it's not. And the question, of course, for the research community is which path do we want to go down to? And I think Schwager actually makes a very good point. He says, look, we as researchers, we want to find ways to generalize intelligence. And for that, of course, we need reproducibility, which is the most important thing in science. Everything which is not reproducible is not science, that is advertised. Now, as a company, whether it's Tesla or somebody else, they don't have that problem. All they need to be able to do is show efficacy, show value, show something that works. And then people don't ask questions. They're going to hire the robots to do work. And if that work is memorized or whatever, it doesn't matter. Now, last thing I want to say, I think there is a move in the community, you know, by several labs and companies, and NVIDIA is also big on this with Alpamayo. It is add reasoning to the model. And I think this echoes something Sergey Levin said recently in a presentation, where he spoke about sort of a generalized AI is an AI that can solve problems on the fly by invoking functions or solutions to a problem that it hasn't seen before. And that, of course, that's kind of what reasoning, or that's a gap that the reasoning could fill. It says, okay, look, I don't know, I've never seen this, but let me reason through the situation. I mean, it's exactly like a student in a midterm that hasn't seen the actual problem before, and then tries to reason through the problem to find a solution. And since we're on that note, I mean, if you think about how human intelligence works, SAT or most of the exams that we're exposed to, it's questionable how much learning there actually happens and how much memorization actually happens. I will leave this open now. I don't want to comment on this, but it would be my guess that memorization is a much bigger part of what we call human intelligence than we actually believe it is. And I think, as usual, when we talk about AI, we always come to the conclusion that AI itself teaches us a lot about ourselves and our own intelligence, and it looks like we're not that perfect. So to summarize, I think Mac Schwager talks about those talks that inspires, you learn a lot, you ask the right questions. He doesn't necessarily have all the answers, but he definitely asks incredibly interesting questions, which then can hopefully one day lead to good answers. Thank you.